Reading the Bible, huh?
Yeah.
So just, while you're reading it, make sure to take into consideration what is literal, metaphorical.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like in Plato's book where he speaks of Atlantis and he talks about a great flood which overtook the city and was its eventual downfall. Well, the city of Atlantis is actually an allegory for ancient Greece. And the flood itself is the overwhelming notion of information and of contention that went throughout the time and the geographical region, which caused the eventual downfall of ancient Greece.
Tell me more.
It's kind of like, how you're going to be reading a little bit about people sacrificing and doing blood rituals to a god, when in actuality, this was meant to impose control from authoritative figures upon those whom were in the worshiping class of the religion itself. And in essence, what would happen is those within the worshiping class would become the embodiment of that which they worshipped. It's really, in a lot of ways, the beginning of a hierarchical societal system which we actually know today. So, the youth kind of respect the elders, and you fall in line yourself to become an elder, which the youth respects when you gain age.
Go on.
Well, when organizations pray, they actually become the manifesting entity themselves which they worship.
Tell me more.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's kind of ironic because Jesus himself taught against worshiping entities.
What do you mean?
Well, if we look at what Jesus himself says when he says, "Know ye not, ye are gods, and I myself am within the Father is within me, and the Father and I are one," what he's saying is that, looking at the term God and its usefulness today could be comparable to the universe. And then so he's saying, I am within the universe as the universe is within me. It's the same for all of you, but not any one of us is the universe itself.
Tell me more.
Or, when Christ talks about eternal life, science shows that today you are an eternal piece of energy which can neither be created nor destroyed.
Go on.
I suggest starting with, Babylon and the ancient flood.
Welcome to Babylon, where the people, they were of one sound and of one thought, and were able to build immense structures, in which they built the tower, it seems, to what they thought was God himself. However, due to their pride and their arrogance, even though they all spoke one language across the land, and even though they had accomplished many feats in which they themselves were seen above the world, and so in a sense the lines which distinguished them from God were diminished, and they themselves found themselves acting upon what it once was beyond their control. And in the age of information came also the age of disinformation and lies, and a flood overcame the people, and all the people, though they spoke one language, spoke nothing the same. And thus we see this cycle repeat itself once more, in which those who built up, and those who organized, and those who became manifestations of an organization and society, in which they themselves manifest what it was that they worshipped, through the means of treating each other as God to reach society's peak, found themselves blinded, and found themselves seeking pleasures and desires, and a flood overtook them, a flood of wars, a flood of contentions, of depressions, and just like with Noah in his time, They built an ark. However, the ark was not necessarily for what one deems to be normal animalia. The animalia itself was, in a sense, knowledge. And two by two they stored knowledge and tomes and of things in which were important to man through the ages, so that as the ages themselves became decayed and as skeletal structures once seen upon the face of the land, this knowledge could be passed down through organizations which would house this knowledge for all time and eternity.
So what's this whole burning bush thing then? Was he like toking up on some dank ganja and allowed him to have visions of grandeur, which let him see into the whole human perspective and see what it was that God was, and allow him to transcribe the words of God to us human beings here on earth? Oh no, that was literal.
I am here.
Put off thy shoes from off thy feet.
Hold a prayer within my heart. Okay, here goes nothing. You took something literal that was meant to be taken metaphorical, didn't you?
Beep, 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 beep.
Dude, you need some help.
Beep, beep, beep.
Don't mention it.
Given the fact that mankind is about to destroy itself through economic collapse, the only way which you can stabilize your life is by investing in gold. And as you can see by my stock portfolio, in which I have highly invested in gold itself, by the mere means of me actually being a distributor of gold, you can see that the rise of gold sales has actually increased in this last little bit. And so what that shows is that you yourself need to buy gold from me, the distributor. And in doing so, you're not spending money, you're actually investing money in your future. With every purchase from our company, we include a golden retriever. Why do you say? Well, because without the L, gold spells God, and God backwards is dog, henceforth the golden retriever. We include this 24 karat gold chain metal, which goes around your dog, and also it is an investment. It's not necessarily something you're spending your money on. If you don't necessarily like to invest in, say, gold, well then what you should do is you should invest in my book,
In which I received from direct revelation from God himself. Now you might be wondering, how is it or why is it that you received revelation from God? Well, let me just show you something. What is it that you see on the screen right at this moment? Read it. Read it alone inside your mind. Did you hear it? Did you hear that voice? That means you're receiving direct revelation from God. Now, this is exactly how I came up with this book, directly from God himself. Now, since all things are from God, whether it be imaginatory, made up, fact, or fiction, then there you have it, my personal guarantee that everything within my book is from God himself. So I will not lead you astray. Now, what God has actually spoken to me is that God is in the middle of a game of Civilization 5, Brave New World, and the only standing opponent in which he actually is still playing against is Satan. However, the beginning of the game was too easy for God, so God hardened, so to speak, Satan's difficulty level, which actually made it so that God himself was losing to Satan, which is how we come to know that Satan actually is in control of all major forms of religions today and all major forms of education. In fact, every single piece of literature and everything that you hear outside of my book is actually from Satan.
and my book is the only way directly to God and to God's teachings. So anything else is of Satan, and you must go through me and my book to receive wisdom from God. That being said, the game itself is about to end. And due to this, God has set up a place for souls in which come to him through me to be saved, so to speak. And you will be a chosen people in the next game, which is about to begin. And this is all thanks to, a lot of visions that I've had, and a lot of really, some might call it vast wisdom within the eternal depths of the soul. And what has come forth is that if you yourself actually pay me a 10% Bitcoin amount of your monthly salary, then God himself will make you within the 0.01% of the population within the next game that is about to commence. And so, I've also received some direct and severe harsh warnings from God. And that if you turn away from this message and if you don't invest in my book, then you will actually turn into a pillar of salt. And wait a second here. You didn't turn into a pillar of salt? Whoa, this must be direct revelation that you have been spared by God and have been given a second chance to actually purchase and utilize the knowledge gained within my book right at this moment. God is giving you a second chance. If you do not perish due to the fact that you invested your time and energies into things of Satan, then what God is doing is bestowing his all-glorious mercy upon your soul and allowing you to once again come into the light through me and become part of God's kingdom on earth, and possibly in the earth to come. And there you have it. I wish you all the best, and as we all know, the best way to express our love of God is through love itself and to support others in the things which they love. And what I love doing is sharing my message to you about God, and this message resides within my book. So you could share your love by sharing your love with me and purchasing what it is that I have to share. And by doing so, you're spreading love, which is God itself. And the more love that we all spread, the more godly that we all are, and the kingdom of heaven is nigh at hand. So there you have it. God be with you, and Godspeed, my friends. And, Hail Mary, Mother of Jesus.